He had positive ideas. His contribution as a scientist, his contribution as a president was unparalleled. He's left a void for all of us. The whole of the country will mourn his death, and we'll all continue to remain inspired by him.
हिंदी में क्या कहेंगे इस दुर्घटना पे? हिंदी में क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, एक बहुत बड़ी क्षति.
All right, that's Arun Jaitley there, mourning on behalf of the government, the passing of President Kalam. Shekhar, let's bring you in. We haven't actually spoken enough about President Kalam's contribution as a scientist, the entire nuclear program that he was associated with.
Well, he was not, frankly, not a scientist in the classical sense. He was a brilliant weaponization rocket engineer. And he employed those skills beautifully because India had the scientific capability to bring about nuclear explosions, but did not quite have the wherewithal to move into weaponization and then putting those weapons into delivery vehicles. So Dr. Kalam's big contribution was to bridge this gap, say, between ISRO and DAE, Department of Atomic Energy, and DRDO, and to weaponize our nuclear program. That was his big
and you spoke of how, he was not there as a Muslim mascot. He was not there as a minority politics mascot.
Never, and he was never there as an affirmative action, like a symbolism of some kind. And to that extent, the timing of his rise to the top was very significant. Now, he could very easily have nobody dismissed him as a Sarkari person. He looked every government in the eye. He owed very little to any political party, and they all respected him. In fact, it is because of the kind of respect that he had that a lot of things got done for the missile and nuclear program at the government level as well, because he could go.
That's a lovely photograph.
Look at the photograph. I've never seen it.
Let's actually
Just
hold it up. Where did it come up?
I just saw it. Someone's tweeted it. I didn't even know he used to play the Rudraveena.
If we can just get one of the cameras to come in on that.
Amazing.
Let him describe what we're seeing.
Well, I mean,
in this
actually,
photograph.
what we're seeing here is a photograph of him playing the Rudraveena, which I wasn't even aware that he used to play the Rudraveena. And I think, just looking at it, that's there's so much of symbolism and there's so much of beauty also, and to see him playing an instrument that goes back thousands of years and perhaps is among the earliest string instruments that is deeply linked to our tradition, deeply linked to Saraswati, deeply linked to knowledge.
And in many ways being able to reconcile, classical Indian culture with the new thoughts of science.
He was a truly uniting figure.
Yeah. Let me just bring in Harcharan. Let me just bring in Harcharan Bens. Now, Mr. Bens, you were telling us a story of how when President Kalam came to Punjab, how he was dispensing with protocol and formality.
Oh yeah. In fact, he didn't even seem to believe in any kind of protocol. I remember an occasion when the Chief Minister, wanted to host a dinner for him in Chandigarh, in the capital of Punjab. And towards the evening, he said, can we have some Punjabi saag, and can we also have some ladies who make saag? The Punjabi traditional diet. And the next day, on that particular day, we were not able to because it was rather late. But the next day, he said, let's go to a village. So then the next day, we were in Badal village. And for 3 days, he was there. And most of the time, he even excused himself from the Chief Minister. He said, no, I want to go and meet people and go to their homes and listen to their problems, go to schools, meet school children, sat separately with the teachers. Remarkable person. And it was unbelievable for me that a president and a person of that stature, personally also, apart from being president, could do all this and do it so naturally. And I had an occasion to talk to him about what he thought was his greatest contribution to the country. And he smiled at me and he said that, do you think there is any I mean, that kind of humble, modest,
Yeah.
and he could make anyone feel like a king. You know, in his presence, even I felt as if I belonged to the same class as he did. But that was his greatness.
Let me bring in Ambassador KC Singh as somebody who I said has served at Rashtrapati Bhavan. What struck you as distinctive about President Kalam?
The only time I really met him was as ambassador. I went to call on him. The person who's now the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, he had come to India. I took him for a call on him with his two brothers. In the study, the only interesting feature which I noticed, which was different from the time Gyaniji was there, he had little models of rockets, which like a little kid he had put on the shelves, which you normally don't expect. But the president, almost like, those were his toys. So he had just lined them up. Like you would go into a nursery and find the rockets there. And then he got up from there and he had them all pull up chairs and he said, just sit around me, let's talk, etc. Because I knew that at one stage after he retired from India, the UAE government wanted to snatch him. They offered him probably a fantastic salary, etc. to come and work on their defense program. But he turned it down. So they had great respect for him. So that's why they wanted to call on him when he was president.
In fact, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We have former President Pratibha Patil joining us on the phone line. Ma'am, a sad day for the country. A beloved president has passed away. Your thoughts today, ma'am? Ma'am, if you... Okay, we just lost the line there. We'll just get her back. In the meantime, Nalin, share the photograph.
Yes,
I must tell you a story. My director, Juhi, who was directing me, she said that she once went to produce an interview that one of our colleagues, Pallav Bagla, was doing with President Kalam. And he refused to sit in his chair till she sat down, although she was not even the interview because the lady can't be kept standing. So he had a kind of charm to him.
And I mean, I think we should be thanking people putting out these photographs because there are aspects that we haven't seen. I mean, the last one was by Mysuru Madhava, Menon retweeted. But look at this. This is Dr. Kalam with his teacher, 92-year-old gentleman. And Dr. Kalam tweeted this out and Smriti has retweeted it.
Yeah.
And is Smriti Irani, I mean, in terms of, showing him meeting his teacher who was 92 or 94 years old. So, I mean, it's again endearing. I mean, he was a teacher till the very end with his kids, with, children, speaking at a lecture with children and leaving from there. And they're putting it out. There's another photograph of him with scientist Vikram Sarabhai, and I think that's an amazing photograph which Mrityunjay has put out. But look at just how they used to work at that time, and that's commitment. You're not even in your clothes. You're almost like in a workshop, and two great minds working together on evidently that's something to do with rocket science or something like that.
Yeah.
And one would almost think that this was in a garage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. So I think even this kind of things that we have says a lot about him.
Prakash Singh, the president, we often say, do we really need a president? What does the president do? President Kalam and many other presidents have actually challenged that notion.
Well, constitutionally, of course, there's provision for a president,
but in public imagination.
But even then, you see, I mean, there are situations when president can play a very vital role as a constitutional head.
Yes.
Normally, he may appear just as a ceremonial head, but there would be occasions. I mean, for example, if the prime minister goes with a very radical proposal,
yes,
unless you have a rubber stamp